Hello everyone, welcome to Target Focus Life. My name's Steve and today we're talking about how to effectively and easily clean your semi-auto shotgun. So don't be a fool. Let me show you how to clean your tool. Let's go. Now I know you're at the edge of your seats, you just can't wait. I can't wait to see him break down the shotgun. Before I get there, I just want to give a quick shout out to Otis Technology and the Elite Range Box, which by the way, I am giving one away. You can check the link down below in the description for your chance to enter to win. Now let's jump right into cleaning this shotgun. Now I am gonna be talking specifically about gas operated shotguns. Gas operated shotguns do run a little bit dirtier, do require just a little bit more cleaning and are a little bit more complicated to clean. But there's also many benefits and advantages of gas shotguns as I talk about in so many of my reviews. Let's jump right in and break this shotgun down. This is my TFL Winchester SX4. It is a gas gun and I believe it's pretty dirty. Magazine tube and spring come out. You may not have a magazine tube on your gun. That's all right. Fore end cap off. Let's take a quick break. I almost forgot one of the most helpful tips I have in the whole entire video. If you got some latex gloves, this is a great opportunity to put them on because it will make cleaning up at the end a whole lot easier. Even though Otis does make some great lead hand wipes. If you don't want to wear gloves, this is a great option. I love to throw some gloves on as this is about to get down and dirty right here. Barrel comes off, nice and locked on there. Piston sleeve, spring. Now I always want to make sure that I take the bolt out. I want to get into that chamber, get it good and cleaned up so the bolt's coming off. Trigger group, I like to use a pin or a punch. In this case, this is from Wheeler. I will link all the products that I use in this video down below. So I take a punch, I can just push the pins out really easy. Don't have to fight with it. Pins are out. Trigger guard's out, trigger group. That's it. We're stripped down, we're ready to start cleaning the gun. I can't stress how important it is to actually break down and clean your guns. One, they're gonna operate how they're meant to operate more consistently, and two, they're gonna last a whole lot longer. If you're one of those people that pride yourself on, I never cleaned my gun, congratulations, you'll just have to go out and replace it or have issues in the field when other people are shooting birds. And when I go out and do reviews, I clean every gun before I review it. So, had a lot of practice cleaning guns. The first go-to product for cleaning is the MC7 Extra Strength Bore Cleaner. All I do, and it's also very helpful, you maybe can't see it, but I have a big 55-gallon garbage can back here. This is gonna catch all my stuff because I'm gonna do this quick, I'm gonna be messy, but I'm gonna get it done and it's gonna be done right. I take this bore cleaner. It's a nice foaming action. I spray it into the chamber here. Normally I do it a little bit more over the garbage and don't get it all over my other guns. Oh yeah, but can you see how that's working in there? Look how it foams up. So as that's dripping, I'm gonna take this and spray the magazine tube. It's full of carbon, all dirty. We're gonna let that just set in for a minute here. As that is working, doing its job, I'm gonna get this piston. This is what helps cycle the gun, gets full of carbon. I'm just gonna drop that in some cleaning solution. For this one, I'm using the Otis 012C carbon remover. There's several different options out there that work. We're just gonna get that soaking, make it easier to take care of in a little bit. Going back to the bolt, spraying that down, getting that foaming action working. Before I started using this stuff, I was just using a synthetic gun oil actually that works pretty well at breaking things down. But this is phenomenal. This works great. I've been super impressed with how well this MC7 works. Getting in all the grooves, all the nooks and crannies. We'll even throw a little bit in the trigger group. We got a barrel to spray down. Now with the barrel, we can use this. This works great. If you want a little bit more foaming action, there's a foaming bore cleaner. I generally don't use this. You certainly can. Not my favorite option. I like this because it runs down a little bit more. I got a long 28-inch barrel. I also don't do this every time. I clean my shotguns, it really depends. Sometimes it's based on a round count. If I'm using them on a super regular basis, like it's exhibition show season, and I'm shooting them several times a week, you know, I'll clean them at a higher frequency. But if I take a gun out and it gets wet, maybe it only has 100 rounds, 250 rounds. Doesn't need to be cleaned, but it gets wet and it's gonna be sitting a while. I make sure I take my gun apart, get it cleaned up so there's not a bunch of moisture sitting in there. That's gonna give you issues. We're gonna let this barrel soak. I'm gonna spray in here. Now this choke tube, it is just filthy. If we look inside, it's got some plastic buildup. Now I could use this. This will work fine. But I'm gonna tell you about another product that also works well. It's the shotgun and choke tube cleaner, right? So this is made to help remove plastics and lead, where this isn't so much about plastics. So what happens is you get a lot of plastic buildup in your choke tube because you have that wad coming down and you get plastic residue. So feel free to use this, try this. This can work fine. I'm gonna go to this because I think it's just a little bit better. And I'm gonna spray it in my choke tube and on the outside. And I'm gonna show you a little trick I've learned. I'm gonna take my 12 gauge brush. I'm gonna screw it in here. I already have this set up in my drill because honestly, no matter what cleaner you're using, I found it a pain to get the inside of this choke tube. So we're gonna use some power tools. I'm gonna stick this brush in. Oh, I hope you're catching that. There's just crap coming out. And then you know what you can do? Really mix things up, put it in reverse, hit it the other way. That is so much cleaner inside, nice and smooth. Did a fantastic job. You will go through brushes like none other, but you don't need to clean your choke tube every time, but when you do, that's a nice little tip that will get it done faster. Then I'm gonna go to the quick scrub. This is the Shooter's Choice Quick Scrub. Again, link will be in the description. And I just use this to kind of blast everything off. Get it back down to bare metal. You know, I end up using a lot of it. It gets expensive, but when I'm cleaning guns as much as I do, I don't want to mess around. My choke tube is clean. Now, sometimes when I'm cleaning, I could do a more thorough job. And if I was gonna leave the gun sit for a long period of time, I might take a little bit more care, but I'm continually cleaning guns, so sometimes good is good enough. That's definitely my opinion. Some others, you might want to clean them more thoroughly. I'm going to take this brush, the blue brush, and I'm just going to give it a quick scrub down. I'm getting in the grooves and channels of this chamber. Anything that might be kind of stuck on, crusted on, it's all coming off really easy. Before I spray this down, I'm going to take a Scotch-Brite pad. See all this carbon is built up on here? I'm gonna take this Scotch-Brite. Look how well that's cleaned up already. It doesn't have to be perfectly clean, but that is pretty darn good. I used to use Windex, that also works pretty well, but once I started using this extra strength bore cleaner, Shooter's Choice, I stopped using Windex. In fact, this is ammonia-free, which is really nice. So that is scrubbed up. There's still a bunch of crap in there. We still got all this cleaner in there and all the gunk that we've moved around. I need to get it out. I want it down to bare metal. I want it clean. Go back to the quick scrub. Just blast it out. Let it all go into the trash. I can hit all these little nooks and crannies that would be nearly impossible to get with a rag. And I'm quickly gonna hit this mag tube. It doesn't need to be perfectly clean because I will finish off with my rag here. Just gonna quickly hit inside the chamber. Let's move on to the barrel. Now, it's been soaking for a while. I'm looking at this barrel. It's not terrible. So because I just want to quickly clean my barrel this go around, I could run a brush through it and scrub it up and down. That's a fine solution. I don't do that honestly all that often. My go-to is the ripcord by Otis. This is 12 gauge ripcord. So what I'm gonna do is run this down. It's a one-pass cleaning, but it basically acts like a metal brush and a rag at the same time. Whew, would you see all that stuff come out? And this gun may have enough rounds that it's gonna require a little bit more scrubbing. But the majority of the time I clean guns, the ripcord does a good enough job. I'm pretty happy with that. Cameraman, what do you think? You pretty happy with that? Pretty darn clean for just a quick clean job. There's 2 gas ports This is where the hot gas comes out and into the piston. I'm gonna scrub this area just so it looks, I don't see any buildup in there. It looks pretty good. Sometimes you can get buildup of carbon in there. Now we're back to the quick scrub. I love burning through this stuff. I used to use a rag to try to get all that stuff out once you scrubbed it. No, not anymore. I'm just gonna blow this stuff off. Okay, we're getting down to the bolt. The bolt usually doesn't require too much scrubbing. I generally just look it over. Unless I see a buildup of something, I might run the brush over it real quick. Just kind of break some of that stuff off. Yep, looks pretty good. Back to the quick scrub. Blast it off. Same thing here. Maybe just a quick over, nothing too much to get there. Let's blast it off. The cleaner, the extra strength bore cleaner that I sprayed on earlier really just did the job of kind of breaking everything loose, and this just takes it off. Gets it down to that bare metal, so when we get to lubricating, we got a nice clean surface to lubricate. Nothing to scrub here. I mean, you could scrub a little bit. You gotta be careful. There's springs and stuff you can take off, but generally there's not too much built up carbon. It's just gunk and stuff that gets in there. Quick scrub it. Good. Good to go. All right, now, piston. It's about to get dirty. This is the dirtiest part of the job. Okay, this is what it looks like right now. We got some work to do. Have no fear. I'm first gonna go over it with just a rag, try to get the bulk of it off, because this gets messy in a hurry. Okay, look at that. I am impressed with how well that cleaned up. Just soaking in that solution. Real fast. But I am gonna take my brush to it because I wanna get this a little bit better. I wanna get in these holes just a little bit. And then inside there's some springs and different stuff. I will run my brush inside those, get those cleaned out. Lots of junk in there. This doesn't have to be perfectly clean. In fact, it's almost impossible to get perfectly clean. We let it soak, we gave it a scrub, and back to the quick scrub. Common theme here with my cleaning. Now I'm just gonna blast it off. Get the majority out, get the inside, get in some of these spots that I could never get a rag well, and we'll just go with the rag right back over it. This is the point where I ditch the gloves, because we got most of the real dirty stuff done. You'll see some carbon in those holes yet. Not a big deal, the gun's gonna work just fine. We got the majority off. We have a pretty clean gun at this point. We're moving along, it's happening fast, but if we skip some of these last parts, we're in trouble, because lubricating is one of the most important parts. Yes, getting it clean, but what you finish with is gonna make all the difference. One of my favorites is the Otis Dry Lube. When we're doing exhibitions, shooting the gun in all sorts of funky ways, they're not meant to be shot, this stuff works. What I love about a dry lube is that your gun stays cleaner longer. When you have the wet lubricants, they pick up more dirt, debris, carbon, than the dry stuff does. So this is actually gonna spray on wet, right? Now I'm gonna get it in there. I'm gonna spray the channels, make sure all my surface of the chamber's covered. That's plenty. We're gonna just let it sit there a second. While it sits there, I'm gonna come to the bolts, get that covered. Now I'm gonna grab a rag. I'm gonna go back to the chamber. That's had a chance to sit for just a second. I'm lightly just gonna go over it and take off any excess that I have. I don't need it to be soaking wet. I wanna give it a chance to get into that metal and then wipe off the excess. Same thing with my bolts. I'm not trying to get it dry here. I'm just trying to wipe off any pooling excess that there is. Boom. When it comes to moving parts, moving metal parts that rub on each other, the dry lube, it's not nearly as important when it comes to like your trigger group, right? I'm actually just gonna throw some dry lube in there. A wet lubricant would work just fine, not as critical. I always like to take a little of my dry lube, put it on the end of the barrel because our bolt does ride there. I wanna make sure that's nice and lubricated, just wipe off the excess. Okay, we are almost ready to go back together, but sometimes you have trouble with choke tubes getting stuck on. And so normal lubricants maybe aren't the ideal way to go. Carlson's choke tubes has a specific grease to go on the threads. Otherwise, just a synthetic lubricant will work too. I'm actually gonna use the Carlson choke tube lube. I'm just gonna work a little on with this. So I don't take my choke tube out and clean it like that every time, but when I do, I like to clean the threads. I like to throw some more grease or lube on there. Now, lubricating this, I don't think is actually essential. Your piston does slide on it like that. So if you wanted to, I don't think it'd be the end of the world. I know some people don't do this, but I don't think it hurts to put a little dry lube right there where that piston's gonna move. So putting it back together, the first thing I'm gonna do is throw in my bolt. The reason I like to throw my bolt first is because there's a plunger in the backside of this shotgun that the tail of the bolt has to be lined up with. So now we can go with the trigger group. Go back to the Wheeler punch here. Boom. Now we're on to the spring, the sleeve, piston, the barrel, our follower, back in, fore end back on. Lastly, I'm gonna finish just by lubricating this firearm. One thing I like to use is the long-term firearm protectant by Otis. And so this is what I'll use often if I bring a gun in. I'm not gonna do a full cleaning, but I've been fingering it up. Maybe it's got a little moisture on it, whatever. I'll grab one of the microfiber towels and then I will just spray this down and lubricate the gun. So this works to finish out a full gun cleaning. It also works just to make sure you got a fresh coat of oil on there. The gun's gonna sit for several months without being cleaned. And you've been handling it, fingering it up. Sometimes I have my camera guy over and he touches some of my nice guns and leaves fingerprints on the metal and I gotta wipe him down when he leaves, you know. Now, exhibition season is over, so this gun might sit for a while, but now it is clean, ready to go for next year, looking good. For any of the products that we talked about in this video, make sure you check the links down below. And remember, if you want to enter to win the Otis Elite Range Box, also check the link below and get signed up for that. Whether you're in the field or in life, you're only gonna hit the shots that you're laser focused on. So live target focused. I think Mama's calling for dinner. I better get these hands cleaned up, get the lead off so I can live a nice long life. There we go. And that's a wrap.